Hey there, cartomancers! Hexa here on Tarot and Witchery, and I am reviewing the Circle of Doors Tarot today. This tarot is by Anne Staverly and Jill Sutherland, and the guidebook is written by Brian Duffy. There'll be timestamps down below. If you've watched my reviews before, you know that I will work with the deck for a reasonable amount of time before I get on here and do a review about it. I've worked with this deck for 3 weeks now. What I'm going to be covering in here is the basics of the deck, who I think this deck is for and what it's used for. I'll do the pairings. Then I'll tell you my personal opinion about the deck. And then finally, I'll show you my favorite cards. Before we jump into it, I want to let you know that I have a weekly newsletter called The Witch's Whisper. There's divinatory tips in there every week and spreads, as well as cool witchy tips. And you can find the link for that down in the description box below. I also want to let you know that there are timestamps to this video, so you may want to move ahead and listen to some other part or go back and listen again to it. And of course, I'll give you the names of all the decks that I pair this deck with. All right, jumping right on into it. You can see here that it's got a good sturdy box. I do like this box. Magnetic closure. It has gilded printing on the box itself. And if you had it turned this way on your shelf, you would be able to see what deck it is. Inside, it's lovely. Here is their installation that they did at Burning Man. You've got a good sized book, and I will talk about this in a bit. Ribbon to get it out of the box. And again, inside of the box, really nice, really sturdy. Okay, the cards, shiny gilding. It's a larger deck. So I know some of you don't like larger decks. I do. And I think it works well with the medium that they've chosen for their deck. Gilding on the backs. The backs are really pretty, as you can see. Okay, cardstock. This is my one thing that I have to say about this deck that is kind of a negative. I don't think this has like a core. It's just not very thick. It's beautifully matte. I mean, everything about the card is gorgeous. I like the rounding on the corners. I even don't mind the borders on here, but yeah, it's not an issue for me because I overhand shuffle, but I don't know about, for those of you who riffle shuffle, you might have to kind of treat this with kid gloves. All right, so you've got several, I'm going to do kind of 2 at a time here so you can see. This is a photography deck, and they have done it where they have layered the images on here. And so it is really intriguing to look at. The imagery is lovely on here, and both of these women worked on this deck. Anne and Jill both did the photography for this. One of the things that you'll see is that each card has a key word on it. The suit names are changed. Shells are actually, you can see shells here are actually pentacles. And then you've got knives as swords, cups as cups. And keys is wands. So that's a little bit different on this as well. But again, you've got these keywords. Let's take a look at the book here so you can see what's going on inside this book. It's a good size book. And as you can see, you've got the cards on the left-hand side, which is something that I love, 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 love for reference when you're flipping through. Very unique book, really unique book. There's only one other book that I've encountered that's quite like this. So it starts off with a piece of poetry, and Ari Weisner's tarot deck has poetry for the major arcana, but they have it for the minor arcana as well. And then they have the name of the card. You've got the full picture of the card here as well. And so it's kind of interesting. It's not a prescriptive deck at all. This is a reflective deck because it is what I would consider a divine feminine deck. It's very much about being receptive to the images and receptive to your own thoughts and your own subconscious. So it's not really prescriptive. But I'll read here the priestess for you. You contain a reflection of nature's perfect wisdom deep within your body. Dive into the warm ground of your being by quieting your mind and listening to the stillness in your bones. When you embody the priestess, you connect with the truth that is beyond words, beyond time, beyond life itself. This truth is present in every moment and holds the silence between the notes of life that allows us to hear the melody. And then they have got these questions here. How can you create a receptive state of awareness? What clarity emerges when the mind is truly quiet? How can you make your heart and body behave like the rising and falling of the oceans? And then there's an affirmation. This affirmation says, I expand and open myself with every breath. I find my truth by practicing stillness. I am a clear and pure water. My love embraces all. I'm going to read you the little piece of poetry here. The moon shines upon the dark lake. I reach within my waters and grasp its glowing face. My blood pulses with an ancient rhythm. I am enveloped by infinity. So there's the book. Also, you will find that the queens are called Maga in here, and you have the maiden. Got it? The mother, which is the knight. The Maga, which is the queen. And the crone, which is the king. And now I'm going to flip through these cards as I kind of talk about how you might use this deck and who I think this deck might be for. And I'm trying to get to cards we haven't seen yet. Okay, so this deck is really witchy. It is really witchy. It's beautifully divine feminine. I think this deck is a great deck to, if you want to go deeper into tarot, this deck is really going to take you there. If you are someone who is new to tarot and you've been using oracle cards, I think you would find this deck a great deck to learn with because it has the key words. The one thing I will say is that this is not a Rider-Waite clone at all. And so if you're wanting to learn the Rider-Waite-Smith system, this would not be the deck that I would use. If you have been reading for a long time and you want to look at the tarot cards in a very different way, maybe you want to kind of grow or expand your consciousness about what these cards mean in a very intuitive and ethereal way, this is a great deck to do this. In short, I think this is for all different types of learners, except for if you're wanting to learn the Rider-Waite-Smith system. And I think if you're someone who is really wanting to open your mind up to what the court cards are, and the court cards have eluded you, it's something that you're having trouble with, this is a great deck to study. There's some amazing writings in the book about the different court cards and how they relate. It is much more, this is what I would call, what they call in somatic therapy, a felt sense. So this is very intuitive and it's going to take you into understanding the court cards from a very different point of view. So if that's something that you're struggling with, this could be the deck that takes you to a new level. On to pairings, I have 4 tarot and 4 oracle. Yeah, I went all in. There were a lot of other decks that I could have paired with this, but I tried to pick specific types of deck to pair for different types of feelings and interactions with this tarot. So here we go. All right, deck number 1 is the 4 Hexa Tarot by MJ Cullinan. You all know I'm a fan of hers, of her work. This deck, whose backs are just gorgeous. Look at these backs. I absolutely love them. Because this deck is so otherworldly in so many ways, I think if you're someone who wants to stretch that out and go even farther into the other world, then choosing the 4 Hexa Tarot for its fae qualities is going to take you to that place. And I mean, this is if you want to go really deep, because already this deck is going to take you pretty deep. But I feel like this sort of adds that other element. It takes you to the other realm and allows you to kind of explore thoughts in a way that's very otherworldly. So the 4 Hexa Tarot by MJ Cullinan is my first. And I had a thought as I was putting this away. Because this deck is kind of ethereal and out there and sort of lets you get to the point on your own circuitous route. It's not direct. This deck, all of MJ's decks are very, very direct. So if you need something to be like, here I am, I'm way out in my head, and then you want something that kind of brings you back and sort of points directly at where you're going, this book is really going to do that for you. So I think they balance each other out really nicely. Okay, let's do an oracle deck. Again, because this is a witchy deck, The Rooted Woman Oracle by Sharon Blackie and artwork by Hannah Willow, who I love. Love, love, love her Folktales Oracle. So I was really excited to get this. This was actually a gift to me. Beautiful backs on here. Very witchy, very, very witchy deck. And I think one of the things about this deck is it is the Rooted Woman Oracle. Because you're so out here in your subconscious, you're going so deep, having an oracle deck that kind of brings you back to your body. Look at that Sheila Nagig. That's so awesome. I just love this deck, you guys. Love, love, love this deck. It's a newer deck, and I'm so enamored with it. Having something that brings you back into your body and really grounds you, so you can go way out into the cosmos with this, or you can even start here in your body. Like this is your foundation card, and then you can draw cards from here and kind of move on out and expand the thought, expand your subtle bodies, and really push out into your consciousness. I think the Rooted Woman Oracle is going to be something that's really going to work well with this one here. Next up on my list, again, this is a super witchy deck, and you're really kind of out there, and I feel that there's kind of a seriousness to this deck, and so maybe you want to pair it with a tarot that's more lighthearted, and for that I chose, oh, my Trash Panda Tarot. How I love you, Trash Panda Tarot. If you don't know about this deck, you're about to. So here's the Trash Panda Tarot. What I like about this deck is it is so cheeky. Look at this. Here's the tower, and they're like dumpster diving, and it's catching on fire. It's a dumpster fire. I feel like the two of these together, it just, especially if you're that kind of girl, you're that kind of gal who, even when things are kind of hard, you can laugh, you can make a joke out of it, then I think you would like this type of pairing. And so maybe you have a deck in your collection that already is this kind of cheeky, poking fun at life. Let's just laugh at the situation. Look at this, the Hierophant, and he's on the, I don't know if you remember these. These were really popular when my kids were little. They were like this little plastic car that you drove around. He's got this fork in his hand. So I think the two of these just go together really well if you want to kind of take this to a lighter hearted level and just kind of, okay, I've gone deep, and now I'm going to come out, and I'm just going to kind of laugh at myself and enjoy this reading and not make it quite so serious. Sometimes that can be really good in a reading because it can just be too much if everything is so darn intense for you. Oh, look at that. This is one of my favorites, the Six of Swords on the blow up unicorn. Oh my gosh, the unicorn floaty. Love, love, love this deck. This is the Trash Panda Tarot by Starling Dukehart. And you can get this at trashpandatarot.com. I don't even know if it's still available, but I normally don't like sort of novelty decks like this, but as soon as I saw this deck on Kickstarter when it first came out, I had to have it. The Trash Panda Tarot, again by Starling Dukehart. In that same vein, let's do an oracle that kind of keeps things light, or maybe zany. And I'm pulling out my zany Morgan's Tarot. It is actually not a tarot, it's an oracle. The other thing I like about this is it's sort of matchy-matchy. Oh wait, I've got this going every which way. So it's a black and white deck, so I feel like that matches really well. These are very dark images, lots of black, and this is very white. And so you have lots of contrast going on, and someone is laughing at you. Try to relax. Do not meddle in the affairs of wizards. They are subtle and quick to anger. So this kind of just makes you laugh, but you would be surprised how Morgan's Tarot, and Morgan's Tarot is by Morgan Robbins and illustrated by Darshan Korpash. This just completely reminds me of the 70s and my childhood, and I love it for that. But one of the things that I think is really great about pairing something like this with this is that you can, again, you can swap them. You can do this card first or this card last. But it just allows you to laugh at your reading. And there's something about Morgan's Tarot that will just hit you from an angle that you weren't expecting. But you have to be the right type of person to just kind of go with it. Tee hee ha ha, like new chapter, 6 of Knives. New chapter, crossing over, going into something different. Tee hee ha ha. You know, what was, can you laugh? Can you enjoy it? Like maybe you're struggling, you're struggling to laugh at this new way that life is changing. And, you know, you get this, and this is your prescriptive bit of advice is, come on, let's laugh at it. Let's laugh with it. Let's love this time in our life. Let's snuggle up with it. Yeah, this is just kind of a quirky deck. It's been around forever. The Morgan's Tarot by Morgan Robbins. Next up on the list is a Rider-Waite deck. This is the Super Lunaris deck. This is one of my favorite decks. It's got rose gold on it. If you've watched my favorite decks, you'll know that I actually own a copy of this sealed in plastic in case something happens to this. Love the backs. Because this has sort of since this is photographic, this has some photographs in it. I don't know. You just need a good, sometimes when you're matching tarot to tarot, you don't want to overcomplicate it. And so to me, this deck is my easy reader. Like I can read so easily with this at any time. My favorite all-time ever 2 of Cups right here out of any deck I own. And I own a lot of decks right here. So, you know, when you're going deep like this deck wants to take you, it's kind of nice to have that deck that reads really easily for you. And so I would say, whatever that is for you, maybe it's not a Rider-Waite, maybe you're Thoth, Toth, whichever it is, whichever you prefer. And so I would say, you know, working with something that's as intense as this deck is, it's kind of nice to just have something that you pair it with that you don't have to think. You're just going to be able to get the message like that. All right, next up, another MJ deck. Actually, let's save that one for later. Okay, we've already gone really deep, right? So why not take it even deeper? Naomi Cornock. Sorry, I always want to put an M there when it's an N. This is the brand new version, the expanded version of her Old Ways Magic Oracle. I have a full review on this on my channel. It's 3 must-have witchy decks. Oh my gosh, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. First of all, let me just say, look at these 2 images together. The branching trees right here, and then this crown that's sort of branching. Just the feel of these 2 cards go together. If you don't know about the Old Ways Magic Oracle by Naomi Cornock, it is truly phenomenal. This is about ancient magic, the kind of magic that goes far beyond words. It's so deeply resonant within you that there are no words to describe it. She does have a book in here. It's got very little in it, but you don't need it. If you are that kind of witch, you would love these decks together. This is like, it's the dark moon and I really need to shed some stuff, and I'm going to break out these 2 decks and go for it. I think these 2 decks are just fabulous together. The depth that these 2 decks together call to and the way in which their energies partner, it is a wonder. I mean, it is truly a wonder the way these 2 speak to each other. So again, that's the Old Ways Magic Oracle by Naomi Cornock. On to my last tarot, the Crow Tarot by MJ Cullinan. So I feel like if you are at a place where you really need to, that's the last card I got, 10 of Wands. If you are at a place where you're needing to get really real about maybe something that's dying in you, like this deck is a great deck if you work with the Morrigu or any other ancient deity like the Kaliak. Or if you're just someone who is at that point in your life where you're going through a death or a lot of change, a tower moment, these two decks, I think, really work nicely together. Again, MJ Cullinan is going to have in her book here, she is going to be very straightforward. And this deck, this deck will go to the heart of the matter for sure. So I think a great way to go is to move into this. I would say this is the divine feminine and this is your divine masculine. This is your reception and this is your doing, your being and your doing. And when you put the two of these together, you get a complete picture of the energies and how they want to work together. These two, again, would be for gaining deep clarity, really honest readings. Like when you're at a place where you need to be honest with yourself, like there's no more soft shoeing it. You need answers. You need to get to the bottom of it and you're willing to take an answer. I think the Crow Tarot by MJ Cullinan with the Circle of Doors Tarot, they're a good match together. Last oracle up on the list is the WITCH Oracle, Witch by Angie Sullins and art by Silas Tibal. And this is actually a collage deck with a chunky book in it. There's the last card I had that I got. Look at that Medusa there. Chunky deck, gorgeous box. The one thing I wish that they had done that they chose not to, I don't know why, is this would have been so cool if they did this teal on there. If you ever want to reprint this and make it super extra, that would be my way to go. I love color though. Okay, so again, here you are, you're at this place, you're going deep, and you need something that comes out and really empowers you to embody this message. I would say the WITCH Oracle is just great for that. It's going to really bring you to a place where it calls you to be. So it is action-oriented in a way, and yet it is what I would consider the divine masculine. So it's the embodiment of the sovereign woman. And since this deck right here is all about the sovereignty of women and us really understanding, and not just women, let me say the sovereignty of the divine feminine activated in all of us would be a better way to put it. But I mean, this deck is for witches out there, let me tell you. So again, the Witch Oracle by Angie Sullins, I think this is a winning combo. Now, what do I personally think of this deck? This deck, for me, this deck right here, this is a soul deck. This deck is amazing. I felt so seen as a magical practitioner by this. This is a deck, if you are studying to be a priestess, this is your deck. If you want to learn to pathwork into cards, this is your deck. If you're trying to grow in your divine feminine self, this is your deck. If you're learning about personal sovereignty, this is your deck. This deck with the layered imagery, I mean, I just keep finding things in the cards every time. It's like my mind is perceiving everything that's going on in the cards and activating me in very specific ways. And then my conscious mind, I should say my subconscious mind is perceiving it. And then my conscious mind comes in and it will light on a piece. And I get really powerful messages. I have found that what makes this deck really beautiful is this book. This book is really a treasure. The writing is a treasure. It is poetry in motion. The prose is just gorgeous. The structure, the way in which they talk about how the energy builds in the suits it's impressive. I'm really impressed with the understanding of the tarot and how they took this. The tarot is an oracle, and how they took this oracle and they took their own understanding of sovereignty and the power of being a magical practitioner and a priestess of power and sovereignty on this planet and put it into this form. I feel like this is such a gift to the collective. And I just cannot say how impressed I am with this. If you are a witchy person, or if you're somebody who likes to do really deep, empowered, divine feminine work, that's not fluffy. Look at that Fool, such a great Fool. It's not fluffy. This is such a great deck. I 100% recommend this deck to you. It is so worth it. Lastly, I want to show you some of my favorite cards. This Fool here, I love this Fool. There's a Fool within a Fool within a Fool, almost like past, present, and future. There's so much going on in this card. It really takes me to this place of like, I am embarking on the journey, and the journey has all of these different renditions of myself, because when we take off on a journey, we are being transformed by that story. And so we are not the same person at any point in it. And yet the Fool, which is 0, is transcendent of time. And so all of those possibilities for ourselves exist in the Fool card. So really love this Fool. 5 of Shells, also known as 5 of Pentacles. They have named this Hunger, and I really appreciated that. I really appreciated the displaying that, like, that we are in a place of desire. We are longing for something, and wanting there to be something more. And there's actually, in the Rider-Waite-Smith, they're questing for it. Their need is very evident, and the need is really evident here. And there's kind of like this offering here in the front. There's so much going on in this card. It's just so fun to play with. Next up, Justice. I was really impressed with this. This is a card that I struggle with, and you will see that this has the Thoth numbering. They've made Justice number 8. If that bothers you, just go ahead and, make it 11. It's fine. A card that I really have struggled with, and there's so much going on here. The one thing I love is her face. Her face is looking directly at you, like, I see you, I get you, and she's got the scales. I'm about to weigh this. I am fully aware of who you are, and I see right through you. And I am the one that will be dispensing justice. And I'm going to tell you what is right, what is just, what is true. I love the wings in here, like the wings of the owl for wisdom. She stands between the pillars. So there's definitely the nod to the Rider-Waite, that for those of you who are familiar with that. But it's not a clone, and it's so emotive. Love this card. 9 of Cups. I liked this because the 9 of Cups, which is kind of the celebratory card, the gratitude, I'm feeling so good about myself, actually becomes ritual in here. This sense of coming together, like we have come together, and as a unit, we create something that is the representation of fullness. It's like the coven of sisters here who have come together to create ritual, and the fullness that creates when we do come together in unity. So really thought that was beautiful. Maga of Cups. I actually really liked the cup suits a lot in here. They made her the poet, and I thought, that is truly apropos. I love how distinguished she looks in here. So just so you know that the Maga is the queen in this suit. So, you know, here she is. She's so poised. Here, let us have tea together. There's this artistic sense to it, which I totally feel with the Queen of Cups, that she is the most artsy of all of the queens. So, oh, just a beautiful, and again, I love that they named it Poet. The Hierophant becomes Witch in this one. And to me, that was just brilliant. I really appreciated the fact that that is the way that they went. And you will see there are different hand symbols going on in here, just like in the regular Rider-Waite-Smith. And so much image to get into and explore. And then we have the Three of Shells. And that's the Three of Pentacles, which is usually collaboration is the word that I use. But I love that they use alliance. Alliance, again, has this sense of each of us bringing our individuality to the table, and yet us being allied as forces who can work together in times of need. And I love the hands. So I liked the word alliance. Rumination for Eight of Knives. Here she is with the blindfold on, the knives pointing at her. And of course, that's exactly what we're doing. We're rolling over things again and again and again in our heads. So rumination, perfect word choice. And then we have here the Universe card, which is the World. I love this card. I love how the angle of the shot is so cool. She's like looking down on you, like this is the goddess incarnate, and she's holding the world. Or is that a crystal ball? And I have this sense of the different elements in here, the earth element. I have this sense of wind and rain, and just there's the stars within her, contained within her body here. Just the way that she's looking at you, like, wow, I have the world in my hand. I am wielding this power. I am wielding the fullness of who I am and everything that I've learned right here, right now. See me. I want to thank Anne, Jill, and Brian for sending me this incredible deck. Like I said, this is a soul deck for me. The Circle of Doors, oops, it's upside down. The Circle of Doors Tarot. Soul deck for me. I will be using this forever. I have decks back here, you can see, and my room is a mess, so it's kind of empty. My top shelf decks are decks that I grab a lot. But then this deck is actually inside in my inside cabinet, my witchy cabinet, for what I use just regularly. Like, I want to have that in the house on the fly, and that is where this deck is. So thank you so much for this. This was an amazing, amazing deck, and I want to totally recommend it. Of course, links in the description box down below to buy this. Circle of Doors Tarot, excellent. Until we meet again, may you find a deck that speaks to your very soul.